feels like forever since we played Hellblade, Ninja Theory's gritty story about psychosis, gods, and sacrifice. While the original game launched in 2017, Ninja Theory has kept its cards close to its chest about its sequel until now. Here's everything you need to know about Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. 2017's Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice follows picked warrior Senua as she battles through Helheim to save the soul of her lost love. Senua struggles with psychosis, and throughout the first game was constantly berated by voices in her head that she deemed furies, but are actually manifestations of her mental health issues. Senua's Saga follows her on a journey that's much more grounded in reality, but one that's no less gritty and violent. At this point, she's more accepting of her lot in life, accepting of the death of her partner, and that she hears voices and sees visions. Set in 10th century Iceland, the game follows Senua as she seeks the Vikings that attacked her village and enslaved her people. Along the way, Senua will face Viking raiders, giants, and zombie-like monsters, engaging them in brutal fights and taking on more of a leadership role in the process. Speaking when the game was announced back in 2019, Ninja Theory co-founder Tamim Antionides said, "While Hellblade gave us a very personal insight into psychosis, this sequel builds on that to show how madness and suffering shapes myths, gods, and religion. Our goal is to make an experience comparable to the epic myths and sagas of old." Combat has seen big changes since the first game, with our very own Jordan Ramey reporting after his recent hands-on with the game that fights felt challenging and tense. He wrote, "It's not as tricky to grasp as more action-oriented games, but enemies are quick to take advantage of your mistakes, parrying weak strikes and immediately counterattacking, for example, or using wide-sweeping attacks that are difficult to dodge without precise timing. Senua will only ever face enemies one-on-one, and according to the development team, this is deliberately done to make her feel vulnerable in every encounter. Like the first game, Senua will unlock abilities throughout the story to use in combat. One such ability utilizes a mirror to help Senua focus. Charging the ability slows down enemies enough so that you can land a bunch of hits, useful in a pinch against the brutish Vikings you'll be facing. Senua's actor Melina Jurgens has been doing some pretty intense training in order to do the performance capture for her character, including sword fighting, weapons training, and even some MMA techniques. Senua's not undergoing this journey alone. While the Furies, the voices in her head, are still present, they're more like allies than enemies. With her newfound confidence and acceptance, she's able to push back when they overstep. She also meets a cast of NPCs along the way as she takes the fight to the Vikings and attempts to free her people. Not much is known about the characters, but according to Senua's actor Melina, it'll be a mix of people who appreciate Senua's unique perspective on the world and those who reject it. As with the original game, Ninja Theory worked closely with professionals to ensure an accurate depiction of psychosis, including Professor Paul Fletcher from the University of Cambridge, as well as those with lived experience of psychosis. One way that it impacts the gameplay is through the game's environmental puzzles, some of which mimic optical illusions. While you're exploring the stark beauty of Iceland, keep an eye on your surroundings. Find secret passageways by keeping an eye out for patterns that look like faces in the rock face. Other environmental puzzles unlock magical obstacles by identifying runes in the shape of your surroundings. Hellblade 2's visuals look incredible. It utilizes state-of-the-art performance capture, and the game is made in Unreal Engine 5. The team visited Iceland on reference trips to make sure they captured the country's beautiful landscapes faithfully. Hellblade 2 also utilizes binaural audio to mimic auditory hallucinations. Every sound in the game, from music to dialogue, is spatialized around the player. Senua's Saga is being made by Ninja Theory, a British studio known for games like DMC Devil May Cry, Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, and of course, the first Hellblade. They released Senua's Sacrifice as an independent studio, but were bought by Microsoft in 2018. Ninja Theory's head, Dom Matthews, calls the studio an independent AAA studio. That is, one that works with the creative spirit of indies, but with the high-end production values of AAA. The game's music is done by Heilung, an experimental folk band who release songs in a number of languages, from German and Icelandic to even Old Norse. A perfect fit for a game like Hellblade 2. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 will release on May 21st on Xbox Game Pass PC, and Xbox Series X and S. It'll be a digital-only release and will set you back $50. It's been localized into 26 subtitled languages, including Ukrainian, Arabic, and of course Icelandic. It will run a similar length to the first game, which was roughly 7.5 to 8 hours, and while there will be combat, there'll also be a big focus on narrative. The game will be locked to 30 frames per second on Xbox Series X and S, and that's a conscious decision made by the development team due to the cinematic nature of the game. So there you have it, everything you need to know about Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. As I mentioned earlier, our very own Jordan Ramey recently visited Ninja Theory in Cambridge, so be sure to check out his hands-on preview of the game right here on YouTube or over on GameSpot.com. You can find me on Twitter at LucyJamesGames. Thank you for watching.